me on a quilting tale today. My name is Shaylin, and in this video I wanted to share what I've been up to this year with my quilting. I have a completely finished quilt top that I want to show you, and I have a couple tops that are ready to be quilted or near ready, and then I'll show you the other works in progress that I have and share a plan for the next quilt project. So this is just going to be all about the quilts I'm working on and a bit of a show and tell. So the finished quilt, if you have watched my two-part Sparrows quilt videos, I have finished that quilt and it's all bound. I've shared some sneak peeks of it through photographs in some earlier videos, but I thought I'd just share the whole thing and some of the details on that quilt in this video. I also have my Hextravaganza quilt that the top is done. I'm just making accent pieces for, and so I'd actually appreciate some viewer input on how I should go about quilting this one, because there's just so much detail in this quilt. And then I have a mystery quilt that I haven't done any videos on, but the top is done, and I just want to share about this mystery quilt experience. It was a lot of fun, and so I'll talk about that. And you'll see how my sunset quilt is coming along, which I've shared a video on, and the farmer's wife sampler quilt. I have more blocks done for that, so I'll show you all of them so far. I have more videos on the farmer's wife blocks coming up as well. And then I'm going to share what's coming next. I have another quilt that I'm excited to start, and the fabric has come in. So let's get right into it. I'm going to show you that finished Sparrows quilt first. Here's my finished Sparrows quilt. This is a pattern by Pen and Paper Patterns. It finishes at 65.5 by 71 inches, so it's a really great throw size quilt, or for a smaller bed perhaps. With this quilt I used a fabric line called With a Flourish, and I love the colors in it. There's a lot of kind of rusty oranges and golden yellows and peach and denim, and so just some warm colors that contrast well with that darker blue. And I had it quilted with a swirl going all across. I wanted it to mimic the breeze or the wind because they're birds, and so I just wanted it to kind of have that feeling of they could take flight. So I had it quilted with a peachy thread color to show up against the denim background. For the binding, I used the salmon weave that's part of the line, and then the back was the all over floral print that also came with the line. So I will pop up some pictures so you can see this whole quilt, because I can't fit it all in frame right now. But I was able to take it to our summer trip to South Dakota and just get pictures of it out in the wild, which is one of my favorite things to do with finished quilts. So I'll just share some of those before we move on to the next one. But again, this is the finished Sparrows quilt, and thank you to those of you who have been asking when am I going to show it. I finished those videos several months ago, and this quilt has been finished. I just haven't done a progress video in a while, so thank you for your patience, and I really love how this one turned out. I've been really excited to share about this next finished quilt top. It's not quilted and completely done yet, but the top is. And this is a quilt that was a mystery project to me, my first time participating in it. This is called Piece of Cake. It's part of the 2024 Brown Bag Mystery Quilt. A little background about this that I learned when I was in a quilt shop in Issaquah, Washington called Gossypium Quilt Shop. I was in there in February of 2024 while my husband and my daughters were at a fly fishing expo in a nearby city. So I was just kind of killing time, and I went into Gossypium. I'd been in there once before, and I saw all these brown paper bags tied with a piece of fabric on the outside that is a sample of what would be in the bag. And I immediately was thinking the Julie Andrews brown paper package is tied up with string. I was just very intrigued, and they look so pretty. And so I was asking about this program, and I learned that there is something called a symposium made up of 50 quilt shops around the United States, and I think there's 2 or 3 in Canada as well. Karen Montgomery creates a pattern, a mystery pattern, that these quilt shops then make mystery bags for. And so you get a little sneak peek of the fabric. You don't know what else is inside. And if you don't live near one of these shops, a lot of them you can purchase online and they'll mail them to you. But I went to Gasipium and I just loved what so many of the outer sneak peek fabrics looked like. So I ended up picking the Tilda Jubilee sample, and I just loved all the fabrics inside. All the fabrics happened to be from that Jubilee line, except there was a Tilda blender in there, the white with the blue dot all over it, but it coordinates very well. One of the great things about this program is there's a private Facebook group that's hosted by Karen, and members can post pictures of what their bags look like and what was inside of them. So that was really fun to see, you know, the variety of bags and styles out there. And there was one quilt shop that did all book cover themes and pulled colors, solid colors from classic books, and Gasipium had a bunch of beautiful bags. I would have been happy with a number of them had I picked others, but it was just fun to see how the quilt shops would package them. They all did them a little differently, some with just the handled brown bags and a piece of the fabric tied like a ribbon onto it. They were all different. So that was just part of the fun, was seeing what everybody got. And so the way this program worked, I said I was there in February and the program was starting up in March. So if this is something that you're interested in, you might start looking out for it in winter time, around February, maybe sooner. I'm not sure how soon they start selling the kits. But it began in mid-March, and you would get clues in the mail. This is what I would get, and some people got different colored envelopes, but it got just the craft paper envelopes that I really liked, and it has a little stamp saying what clue number it is. And every 2 weeks or so a clue would come in the mail, and there were 5 total. The original package also had some initial cutting instructions that you could do, but then the other clues would give you additional cutting instructions, and you'd start building these blocks, and you're not sure what you're building yet. It was fun to see people kind of put their pieces together and guess what we were making. And I did not expect this one, and I absolutely love this one. It was called a piece of cake because you're making these cake stand blocks, which is something I hadn't made before. But I really love how it turned out, all the points on it. And Karen, in her private Facebook group, gave excellent tutorial videos on how to make these blocks and just quilting tips in general. There was also a little smaller table runner project that helped you practice some of the techniques you'd need for this quilt. So it was just a great learning experience, and I got a beautiful quilt out of it. And so the original quilt, if you just follow the pattern exactly, is 60 by 70 inches for the finished top. Now, it doesn't include borders, and you had to buy your backing fabric separately. And so you could pick your border sizes. So I ended up adding just a solid gold color. That's one of the Tilda solids. I made it 2 inches or 1.5 inches finished. And then my outer border is also from the Jubilee line. It wasn't in the bag, but it, again, is from the line, so it coordinates with all the colors. And I made that border 4.5 inches, so it'll be 4 inches once it's all sewn into the quilt. Grab my fabric here. I picked the sneak peek fabric that was on my bag. I picked that one for the backing. I really love this one. It's what drew me to the bag in the first place. So this is going to be my backing fabric. And then for the binding, I just picked a Tilda stripe. It's blue and a kind of an off-white color here, and so I think it'll look good against the backing, and it coordinates really well with that polka dot that's in the background of so many of these. So this project was so much fun. I didn't share about it because it was a mystery, and I didn't want to spoil a surprise for anybody who might be making it. But the last clue was in mid-May of 2024, so you know, if you start the program and keep up with it, you can have your quilt top done in just a matter of a few months. But I figured by now it would be safe to share how it turned out, and just if you're interested in a project like this and learning new skills and just the fun of the surprise and just the confidence that you're going to get a nice impressive quilt, I would encourage you to look for the 2025 Brown Bag Mystery that should be coming out early next year. Details about that. So I will link what I can down below about the symposium shops, and I'm sure they'll be giving announcements about it as the time draws near. But I've really enjoyed making this one, and I can't wait to get it quilted. This next quilt top is finished except the accent pieces that I need to make for it, but I thought I would just share how it's coming along. This is an EPP quilt, English paper piecing, and it is called Hextravaganza. The pattern is by Rachael. I took a class from her on how to make this quilt in March of 2023. So it's been about a year and a half that I've been working on this, and I'm getting close to finishing. The blocks are all sewn in. I have my border pieces on, so all that's left are the accent pieces, and so I've made a few of those. And I can probably take better pictures and show them up close, but I'm just making some different shapes out of my 1-inch hexagons, and they're going to go in the intersections of my quilt blocks. So I'll applique them onto the corners where the corners all meet, which will be nice because I used a lot of stripes, and despite my best efforts, some of them aren't as straight as I would have hoped, and so this will kind of mask some of those as something that I thought, ooh, bonus. Plus they're just really cute and they're fun to make, they're quicker to make, so I just have a bunch of these that I need to applique on, so I'm still making these. There's several intersection points here. So this is a massive quilt. I can't get it all in the frame. I'll have to back up and take a picture and show you what it looks like, but it is touching the floor and it is almost touching my ceiling here. It's 78 inches by 87 inches. So this is a big one of the biggest quilts I've made, and it is a lot of hand stitching, but I've really enjoyed the process. I love it. I love these fabrics. I started with a couple fabric lines. One was called Posy and another was called Sugar and Spice. So these little characters here come from that line. It's kind of a Valentine's themed, but I just loved the retro looking Valentine drawings. I thought they were just adorable. They reminded me of a quilt that my great-grandmother made me when I was born in the early 80s. There are a lot of characters in that quilt that remind me of these characters, and I think that's why I was drawn to it. But I just started pulling from those color palettes that were very similar, with the pinks and reds and the just kind of sky blue and bright greens, and so I just started pulling other fabrics that if I liked it, it made it in the quilt. And so I'm kind of calling this theme Eclectically Sweet. I have a lot of florals, I have a lot of animals, teapots, I have a girl on a swing here. There's just a lot going on in it. Each block is just something to be drawn in by and look at the details and what was fussy cut. And so it's a very special quilt to me, and I'm really trying to do it justice, finishing it, not rush it as much as I want to be done with it because I've been working on it for so long. And so that's where my next question comes in. I'm debating either big stitch hand quilting it, and I thought I could kind of outline some of the bigger shapes doing that. I could draw in more color with the threads doing it that way, or get it custom quilted, just because there's so much going on. I don't want to just do an all over edge to edge. I think this deserves some finer detail. So there's pros and cons to each. The custom quilting I know is more expensive. I've never had it done before, and this is a large quilt, so that's kind of making me go, oh, I don't know. But the hand quilting is also something I've never done, and I think this is taking on an enormous project for hand quilting and would probably take me quite a while to do. And I'm just worried if I don't do it well. This was so much work to put together. When I look at big stitch hand quilting, it doesn't seem too intimidating, but this is a large quilt. So that's my question to you. What would you do? Would you get it custom quilted, or would you try to hand quilt it? So I have time to decide while I'm finishing those accent pieces. But I'm gonna just pan around now so you can see some of the details up close on this quilt. Here are some of the close-ups of those accent pieces that I'm making. And really I'm just making shapes that can fit in between those bigger blocks and cover the intersection. I'm just really proud of this one. I cut 3 different little squirrels in this hibernation fabric line to put together and piece so it looks continuous. But I'm just kind of making these as I go. I was working on a few of them on the airplane on a recent trip, so I love EPP, how portable it is. But making these accent pieces and sewing them on is the last step before I can get my Hextravaganza quilt quilted. Here's a look at how my blocks are coming along for my summer sunset quilt. I recently made a video about I'm using a free block pattern from Moda Blockheads called Morning Star, and I'm using all solid colors that remind me of sunset colors, and they're also nice and bright and cheery, so I think this will be a great summertime quilt. But I thought it would be fun to see what the blocks look like next to each other, so you'll get an idea of what the top will look like. So I've made a few more since that last video. I still have a ways to go. Looks like I'm about halfway there or so, and I'll be sure to share when this quilt top is finished. You may have already seen some of my Farmer's Wife Sampler Quilt blocks. I've been making special videos for these blocks that tie in some of the letters to the editor from the Farmer's Wife magazine and just some of the images from the magazine as well. So I have more videos in the works, but these are the blocks I've made so far using those 1930s replica prints, the feed sack inspired fabrics, and so I still have several of these to make. These aren't in any particular order. I have a special layout that I want to do for these when they're all done, so look for more of those videos coming up. And this is all done with foundation paper piecing, which I also have a video showing how you can use that technique for quilting. So this one I've kind of stalled on working on, haven't gotten too much farther, but it's one that I'll be picking up again as I wrap up some of these other quilting projects. Here's a close-up of my windmill quilt. I had purchased 3 1-yard pieces of fabric from the Sewing Expo earlier this winter, and I had made this windmill quilt. I had a video showing this quilt. I was able to use my mother-in-law's friend's long arm machine to free motion. I just did kind of a feather design all over it. I wanted to show it to you close up here, and I'll show a picture of the finished quilt because I can get the whole thing in that way. But the top was made completely of 3 yards of fabric. The binding is what they call at Fabric Cafe, they were calling it economy binding, so the binding strips were much thinner, less than 2 inches. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly the width, but it's a thinner binding. And then I used kind of an unexpected bright yellow background. I want to say this is called Misty Meadow, and I just thought the pinks and greens in here tied in, but I liked the surprise pop of yellow, so I just did a light pink thread on here and just tried out free motion quilting, and that was a fun experience. It wasn't a big quilt, so it didn't take too long to do, but let me show you that picture of it close up. And finally, I finished Moda Blockheads 5 earlier this year. I got it all sewn together and quilted, and I did this kind of yellow bubble quilt pattern all over it because I thought the points would be a good contrast in the setting. So I made this a 36 by 36 block layout. I used Corey Yoder's setting that she created for this Moda Blockheads round, Moda Blockheads 4, but I just added a few more pieces to make it fit 36 blocks. The look I was going for with these colors was a crayon box. I called this my crayon box quilt because I just wanted those bright, vibrant colors that you would see in a fresh box of crayons. Next, I want to show you a quilt that I'm anxious to get started on. It has been a sew along, but I wanted to use a different fabric line that wasn't out yet. So I've been opening my clues, but I haven't been sewing them because I just got the fabric. This quilt is called Flower Stand, and it's by My So Quilty Life. Heather Briggs is the designer of the quilt, and she used the Flower Girl fabric line for this, and it's absolutely beautiful. I saw, though, when I came across this pattern, that she had another line coming out called Dainty Meadow, which was supposed to come out in September of this year. And I liked that line even more, so I thought, well, I'll just purchase the clues and I will just wait and hold off till my fabric comes in. And so in early October, the fabric started showing up that I had pre-ordered. So I've been opening the clues. It was a little delayed getting started, so I have these other dates on the packets here, but there were a total of 6 envelopes. You could have opted to get them through quilt shops where they'd mail them to you each month, or just mail them all at once and resist opening them. I just got them directly from Heather Briggs' website, My So Quilty Life. So in each one, there has been a little gift. There's been the pattern. There's just been some fun little surprises in them. So I thought I'd go ahead and open October 11th because, again, it's past then. So I figured anyone who's doing this, I'm not ruining a surprise for you. But this is the only one I haven't opened. It's the last clue here. All right, so here's what the final quilt looks like. All of her patterns have just come with these beautiful colors and nice quality papers. I'm not going to open this because I don't want to give her directions away, but you can see what the finished quilt will look like in the Flower Girl fabric. These are the finishing directions, and then you also get the individual blocks. So it looks like you're making the little canopy on this one and the little flags there. So block 11 and 12. So there's a little, farewell letter in there, a survey on the back. She did a quilt parade celebration. So I think that was online or on her YouTube channel. I know she was going to make a video, so I don't know if she's done that yet. Yeah, there's a little QR code there. A QR code on this one for a giveaway. So it looks like the little gift, oh, this is so cute, is a label, Flower Stand, made by, some room to fill in details, and My So Quilty Life, the designer. So that's really nice, a label to put on the back. Some of the other gifts have been like stickers and the door knocker signs. Trying to think of what some of the others have been. Let me see if they're in here. Oh, yeah, these little like alphabet markers. So just some really thoughtful gifts that are useful. Here's the door knocker sign, do not disturb, that just are in that Flower Girl line. I think I already used her sticker. One of these had a cute sticker with a sewing machine. Yeah, here's a little thank you card. So there were some really thoughtful gifts in here, all really cute. I think this was the one, that had the sticker, because there's nothing in that one. Yeah, just a little picture. Life is better with flowers. So, yeah, Heather Briggs does such a nice job making it exciting just to open all these envelopes. And so, yeah, that was just fun to open it, even though I hadn't started. So let me show you what fabric I'll be using to make this quilt. And the nice thing about sew-alongs is, even if you aren't staying caught up with them, you can still sew it at your own pace and share the progress. So I picked out her new line called Dainty Meadow to do this quilt in, and it has a similar color palette. It has the kind of cream backgrounds. Let's see if I can get these in here. There's a little white dot on cream, and then there are, I love this little checkerboard print here. There's the dot but with multicolor. Then there's the tan. I think it was called wheat, the fig tree wheat color, because I ordered some of the solid for making the wood on the stands. But yeah, there's these really pretty darker yellows, peaches, it's a peach, lots and lots of peach in here. There's this darker kind of coral color, and then it gets into some greens. I know I'm missing some of them, but it's just repeat design, just different colors. And then the blues. So yeah, lots of just really bright, vivid blues in there. So I had purchased and opened the clues, looked at the cutting directions, and I think a layer cake will work for most of it, because I wasn't sure, should I get a fat quarter bundle or, just buy a bunch of yardage. And I decided I would go with a layer cake and just get a little bit more yardage for some parts that had larger cuts. But most of it looked like it could come out of a layer cake. So the big difference and what drew me to the Dainty Meadows is I really liked the bright blue. So where there's more green in the Flower Girl, there is green in Dainty Meadows also, and all the peaches and yellows, but it also introduces the bright blue to the mix. And so I really wanted that. And so, again, very similar look, but just different, just slightly different colors. So I ended up getting this top print here. This will be my backing. And then this one was a fig tree wheat color. And I had looked it up that that's the coordinating solid that goes with the tan in this line. So I got some of that. And then for some of the longer pieces, like the canopy and the background on the stand, and the vases, I wanted to do some of that bright blue. I got some of the coral, tan, some of those cream backgrounds. So I'm going to use these for some of the longer pieces, and there should be enough here. So those will be just some additional prints. And then I also got from her website, because there are some words with the prices of the flowers there. You could hand embroider them, which I probably could have done, but I just saw that these were selling out and she had a couple more added to her shop, so I just went ahead and got it. But I just opted to get the little panel that you can cut out that have the prices, and I almost wonder if you could embroider over it too if you want that embroidered look. But I think this will be really pretty, whether it's hand stitched or printed on the fabric already. So I got that too. So I have everything I need to make it now. All the clues have been opened and my fabric, it's all here. So I'm looking forward to making the flower stand quilt, mixing that in with all these other projects. One final project I want to show you is my door hanging quilt I did. This was a smaller, quicker project. A free pattern from Fat Quarter Shop called Spooky and Sweet. It features a little ghost dressed up as a witch, and down here a vampire ghost. I added the rosy little cheeks on them, and I made a video showing how I did that, but Fat Quarter Shop has great directions, video tutorials, like I said, a free pattern on their website to make either this door hanging or a wall hanging. And so I did it with all solids, and then just did a printed background. So if you're interested in seeing how I put this door hanging together, mostly focusing on how to make the rosy cheeks, you can look for that. And I'm gonna get this hung up in time for Halloween now. But I really appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I've been working on and what's coming up. If you like my videos, I really appreciate the thumbs up and subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you to those who have. And I look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.